Y'all want to know one real reason why America's crashing out like crazy right now? Mediocrity don't hit like it used to, baby. See, once upon a time in America, you could be real mid and still thrive. Mediocre effort, boom, you get a house, car, annual vacation, pension, hell, maybe even a boat. You could clock in, coast through the week, grill on Sundays, and still retire with dignity. But that era is dead and gone, baby. And instead of leveling up or adapting, they're mad, they're bitter, and they're not even blaming the billionaires. They blaming you. They have the audacity to blame me. They blaming immigrants, black people, queer folk, anyone they think is taking something that used to be theirs by default. See, they don't want equality. They want comfort. And when mediocrity no longer gets them that comfort, they start rewriting the rules to rig the game again. It ain't about fairness. It's about preserving the lie. The lie that being average should still be enough for them.
Yo, we are diving into one of the most charged debates on the internet right now. Is America actually a third world country with a Gucci belt? Or is that just cope from people who've never left their zip code? We've got veterans, economists, healthcare horror stories, and MAGA defenders all throwing down in this one. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's get into it.
Anybody who says that America is a third world country with a Gucci belt on has never been to a developing country in their entire fucking life. I beg you, please travel. Please talk to people who live in these countries. I beg you.
If you're American and you think America's the best country in the world, can you please give me a genuine reason why?
I don't know how many times we got to tell y'all, America is a third world country in a Gucci belt. We hate it here too. We don't want to be here.
A third world country, he says, lounging on his bed in what looks to be a shower cap, recording a video on his $900 phone, which he'll upload using his internet connection, and then spend the day scrolling the internet, playing video games, eating whatever snacks he finds in his mom's pantry. Yeah, third world country.
Hey, Ma!
The entire rebuttal was just describing where this man lives, no debate, no statistics, just a slow pan across his comfort, shower cap, $900 phone. Mom's Wi-Fi, mom's snacks. And somehow this is the guy declaring America a third world country. You literally cannot make that argument from inside the pantry, bro. The irony is so thick, you could spread it on toast.
Can we get some meatloaf?
One thing I always see on the internet and social media is, oh, the U.S. is a third world country with a Gucci belt, when there's some video of China having something super technologically advanced, or honestly any country that's not traditional Western power doing something. It's, oh, the U.S. is a third world country with a Gucci belt. The U.S. is the first world country. I'm not saying the U.S. is the number one country anymore. That's not what this video is about. Look up what a first world and second world and third world country is. It is referring to the U.S. in the West. It is not, the U.S. can't be a third world country. It's just like, people are so ignorant. And then also, the U.S. is not a third world country. It is not close to one. Yes, the U.S. has plenty of problems, and there are plenty of things that it could do better. And I think the current administration is terrible. I think, honestly, we haven't had a good president for most of my life. But the U.S. is not a third world country by any means. And if you think that, you need to go to an actual third world country, because it is not. And it's super ignorant to say that. And yeah, just it.
Here's the thing people keep missing, though. The term third world was never about poverty or broken roads. It came straight out of Cold War politics. First world was the Western capitalist bloc. Second world was the Soviet bloc. Third world was everyone else. That's IT, so when people throw that phrase around, they're simultaneously using the wrong term and pointing at something real. Because the inequality, the crumbling infrastructure, the hollowed-out middle class, those are real and documented, but sloppy language gives people an easy exit ramp to dismiss the whole conversation. If you want to be taken seriously, sharpen the argument first, call it what it actually is, a wealthy country failing its own people. That hits harder, and nobody can fact-check you into silence.
It blows my mind when people say that, because the U.S. is not a third world country. It is a first world country. And like, look up what a second world country is. Second world doesn't exist anymore. It's like the former USSR and like Warsaw Pact, basically. Look at countries like Poland and Czech Republic, Slovakia. These countries are succeeding. They are not like demeaned anymore by being called second world. No one's going to call them second world. It's an outdated term. I don't know why people still use that.
We don't identify as MAGA because we favor segregation or because we want some whitewashed version of America. That narrative doesn't even make sense if you actually look at who supports this movement. You'll see Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, men, women, young, old, all of it. It's one of the most diverse coalitions in the country. The reason it triggers people so much is because it challenges the story you were sold. The left turned MAGA into a four-letter word, but the movement is bigger than race. It's about values, faith, work ethic, independence, and pride. It's about remembering who built this country, not by color, but by character. After World War II, America was thriving. Factories were booming, families were strong, and innovation was unstoppable. That was greatness, but it also posed a threat because if America becomes the model for other nations, the elite banking class of the world that profits off of debt and war would lose control. So they pushed new ideas: globalization, climate activism, world cooperation. Sounds familiar, right? But behind those buzzwords, they dismantled factories, shipped jobs overseas, and sold our children's prosperity to the lowest bidder. Then they rewired the education system, teaching you to be a victim and blame your neighbor instead of the system. The media played its part, keeping us angry, divided, and distracted. Culture wars replaced real progress. And while everyone argues online, the same elites cash in on our downfall. Because a united America that's proud, productive, free is their biggest threat. That's why they attack MAGA.
Some of what she's saying has a real foundation under it. Globalization did ship jobs overseas. Media is engineered to keep people angry. Concentrated wealth does buy political outcomes. Those aren't conspiracy theories. Those are documented patterns. But here's where the logic cracks open. The solution being offered is to hand power to the same class of people who created the problem and trust them to fix it. That's not revolution. That's a rebrand. And the feelings driving this movement are legitimate. The betrayal is real. The economic abandonment is real. But legitimate anger pointed in the wrong direction doesn't fix anything. It just keeps the machine running while everyone argues about who's to blame.
That's why they attack Trump, because in his second term, he has shown the world that wars can end, crime can drop, and economies can grow through production, not speculation. So when you see other countries praising his efforts, that's MAGA. When you see crime going down, that's MAGA, not the noise about race, gender, or government handouts. Now it's time for you to decide which side you fall on and what kind of future you're choosing.
For anyone who doesn't live in America, I'm going to give you another example of how the healthcare system here is fucking stupid. So I got a bill today, right? And it's for $149. And I'm like, well, the only thing that I did in October was get a COVID test. And I'm like, I thought COVID tests were free if you had insurance. So I call, and the lady is like, well, the place you went probably took your insurance, but if they send your COVID test somewhere and that place that they sent it doesn't take your insurance, then you're going to get charged. How the fuck am I supposed to know if the lab that my test is sent to takes my insurance or not? Like, what bullshit is this? And on top of this, they sent me a
She did everything right. Had insurance, went to an in-network provider, got the test she was supposed to get, and still got a bill for a lab she never chose, never called, never even knew existed. People from other countries genuinely cannot process this story, because this isn't bad luck. This is the system working exactly as designed. Complexity is a revenue strategy. Confusion is a billing strategy. The more layers between you and understanding your own healthcare, the more you end up paying, and then someone tells you it's a personal responsibility problem. No, it's an architecture problem.
fucking check for $100 because apparently they can't send this check to pay half of it. They paid $100 towards this COVID test, but I have to send the check to the place.
Show me that one scene from any movie where you were like, damn.
Tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom. Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom. All right. And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is, there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories. Number of incarcerated citizens.
Pause right there, because those 3 categories need to just sit in the room for a second. Incarcerated citizens per capita, adults who believe in angels, and defense spending more than the next 26 countries combined. That specific combination should make everyone uncomfortable, regardless of where they sit politically. 49th in life expectancy, 7th in literacy. These aren't talking points. These are published rankings, and the defense of greatest country in the world isn't a counter-argument. It's a conversation stopper. You cannot fix a problem you refuse to measure. The greatness narrative has become a shield against accountability, and that's genuinely dangerous. Not because America isn't capable of greatness, but because capability means nothing without honest self-assessment.
Citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies.
I need everyone to understand that being poor in America does not mean lazy. It is not a personal failure. It means working a job and still living paycheck to paycheck, just like 60% of Americans. It means praying that you don't have to go to a hospital or that your car doesn't break down on your way to work. Oh, why don't you just take the bus or the train? That's what I do in my country. Fuck no! Those are woke and weird. We don't have that here in America. Oh, why are you praying that you don't have to go to a hospital? Healthcare is a human right in my country. Fuck no! That's woke and weird as well. We don't have that shit here. It's obvious, I'm telling you. Being poor in America is not personal failure. We have more than enough resources for anyone from any walk of life, regardless of past decisions they've made, to help them. This is just what happens when a country treats basic human needs as profit opportunities. It's that simple.
You want to know something? I'll give you a quote. We're a third world country now. You want to know why? I'm an expert. I've been to them. I spent 17 months in Southeast Asia while the draft dodger was playing golf. Right? You know how I know we're a third world country? Because in third world countries, they have the military doing their police work in the cities when you walk around. I was in the Philippines the day Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and went under dictatorship. We went from nobody to a guy with a machine gun on every corner. That's what happens in a dictatorship. In comes the military. That's what's happening here. And people...
This one deserves a slow down, because Jesse Ventura isn't pulling from theory. He was physically present when the Philippines flipped from democracy to martial law overnight. He watched it happen in real time. One day normal, next day machine guns on every corner. And his point isn't about party affiliation, it's about pattern recognition. History has a playbook, and it gets run repeatedly because people keep assuming it can't happen where they live. You don't have to agree with his conclusion to take the historical comparison seriously. Dismissing it without engaging the actual history is exactly how you end up on the wrong side of the chapter.
Better wake up to it. You want to read something? Then read your history of Germany and start comparing the tactics of what happened in 1930s Germany to what's happening here. Read history. You learn from history. Any time you have the loss of life that needlessly happens, that's tragedy. And what occurred yesterday did not have to happen.
China has changed its official policy to just sit back and watch the American government collapse on its own.
Do you feel like we're headed towards a decline as a country?
Absolutely, yes.
When do you think it'll start the uptick again?
Our problem is our defense budget. We spend more than $1 trillion a year on defense, and our roads are for and our bridges are falling into the rivers below them, and we should be ashamed at the state of our airports, and our hospitals are underfunded, and our schools are underfunded, but by God, we spend $1 trillion plus a year on weapons. And we've so inflated the national debt that we're only a few years away from a tipping point where we're just not going to be able to pay the interest on the debt.
Well, we can't now. We owe $37 trillion. We bring in $5 trillion into the Treasury. We spend $7 trillion, and $1 trillion a year is just our interest debt on that $37 trillion.
Exactly.
Please tell me that you guys have seen the new Chinese commercial that Chinese have made through AI mocking the United States to make America great again. I'm going to show you the video. have so many questions about this that they made, and it's kind of sad in a way to show their work conditions. But anyway, back to the United States. Why is everyone so obese in this video? Are some skinny people in America? That was my first question, was like, but this is crazy. And I wonder if Trump's seen this.
They work for me. All of you work for me. Now go to work.
This viral video of a Somali man is spreading everywhere, and people are furious. In the clip, he's laughing straight into the camera, mocking Americans who work all day. And he says, "Keep working hard, so I can stay home for free." This isn't a joke. This is raw disrespect, straight up bragging. And that's why it's hitting people so hard, because it makes people ask the question nobody wants to say out loud. What are we grinding every day for? To build a future for our families, or to fund parasites who laugh in our faces? So yeah, people are angry. And now
the anger here is completely real, and I'm not dismissing it. Watching someone mock you for working while they collect benefits. That cuts deep, but zoom out for 1 second. The woman on TikTok laughing into her phone has essentially zero power over your life. The people who designed and funded that entire system, who lobbied for it, who profit from the division it causes, those people are invisible in this conversation. And that's not an accident. When you're exhausted and barely surviving, you need someone to point at. And the system is extraordinarily good at making sure you point sideways instead of upward. The rage is valid, the target keeps getting swapped, and that's the actual trick being run on everyone.
Only thing left is this. How much longer do you think taxpayers will tolerate this before they snap?
I asked, will the rest of the world ever forgive us for electing someone like Donald Trump? Japan. Not a chance. Trump is just the symptom. From now on, any long-term deal with the United States needs a moron premium in case you elect someone even worse in the future. Netherlands. It's not just Trump. There are 75 million of him that can't be trusted. It will take generations if it is ever restored. France. It's not so much just the election, it's everything that wasn't done to stop him. The United States is lawless. Owie. Remember that the question was, would the world forgive us? Great Britain says, sure, as quick as the rest of the world forgave Germany in 1941. France. U.S. today reminds one of the crumbling empires before the world wars. Arrogant, deaf to the world's anger, convinced of their own invincibility. History doesn't lie. Empires fall, and it's never the outsiders who bring them down first. It's the rot inside. America should stop blaming everyone else and start taking a long, hard look in the mirror.
Y'all want to know one real reason why America's crashing out like crazy right now? Mediocrity don't hit like it used to, baby. See, once upon a time in America, you could be real mid and still thrive. Mediocre effort, boom, you get a house, car, annual vacation, pension, hell, maybe even a boat. You could clock in, coast through the week, grill on Sundays, and still retire with dignity. But that era is dead and gone, baby. And instead of leveling up or adapting, they're mad, they're bitter, and they're not even blaming the billionaires. They blaming you. They have the audacity to blame me. They blaming immigrants, black people, queer folk, anyone they think is taking something that used to be theirs by default. See, they don't want equality. They want comfort. And when mediocrity no longer gets them that comfort, they start rewriting the rules to rig the game again. It ain't about fairness. It's about preserving the lie. The lie that being average should still be enough for them.
America is collapsing before our very eyes. Restaurants are closing their doors for good in my city at a record pace. They're blaming it on a slow season, but I think it's something else. You can't tell me the amount of abandoned strip malls that I drive by on a daily basis is normal. I know you've seen it too. All these places just get replaced with the Capybara Cafe de Jour or a flower store to placate the masses, if you know what I mean. There used to be 24-hour diners, family-owned restaurants, even bookstores, I don't know, third spaces. Now, nothing. Luxury apartments that sit vacant forever. Grocery stores that have been closed for 10 years. So much wasted space in empty parking lots until some TikTok trend comes, opens for 6 months, and then that closes too. I know I'm not alone in this, but yet every single time I bring it up, I get all the bots in my comments telling me the economy's never been better. But I ask for who? Like 100 people at the top? So the billionaires are doing great. I don't care. People like you and me, we're struggling out here. All my friends live in vans. And if we are lucky enough to have apartments or houses, we're living behind locked doors and closed blinds because there's no community here anymore. Restaurants are just the beginning. They're the canary in the coal mine.
Empty strip malls, closed diners, 6-month pop-ups where bookstores used to be. He's describing something that feels wrong before you can even explain why. And here's what that feeling actually is. It's the loss of infrastructure for human connection. Restaurants and third spaces aren't luxuries. They're where communities breathe, where people run into each other, celebrate, argue, belong. When those disappear, the neighborhood doesn't just get quieter. It gets lonelier, and no GDP number captures that. No stock market index measures the cost of isolation. So yeah, the economy can be booming, and life can still feel like it's hollowing out. Both things are true at the same time, and anyone telling you otherwise is reading from a very different spreadsheet than the one you're actually living in.
Once they're gone, so are all of our meeting places, our birthday parties, our community, and third spaces. They're not just a place to buy food. They're a pulse of the neighborhood. And also, as a live singer, something hugely important to my job. I used to sing 5 nights a week. Now I'm lucky if I can find a Sunday night gig. So I'm just here to say, if this is what a booming economy sounds like, it must be the sound of doors slamming shut. And I don't know about you, but I'm making my exit plan. We're moving to Portugal soon, where they still have cafes and restaurants that people actually go to. If you find that interesting, stick around. Because I can tell you this is not normal. And don't let internet comments gaslight you into thinking it is.
So here's what we just watched. A country arguing with itself about whether it's broken, while being broken enough to have that argument on a $900 phone from mom's pantry. The healthcare maze is real. The infrastructure decay is real. The loss of community is real. And none of that gets fixed by pointing at the person next to you who's just as squeezed as you are. The Gucci belt metaphor actually lands because it's not about poverty. It's about a wealthy nation choosing where its wealth goes. And right now, a lot of it isn't going to the people doing the actual living. So here's your question for the comments. If you had to name the one thing America should fix first to actually turn this around, what would it be? Drop it below. Let's actually have that conversation. Like, share, subscribe.